extending for now.
So, this is the BMR demo. The Windows system is a Windows 2025. The virtual machine has already been created. It has 3 disks, the basic Windows system disk, and 2 data disks that are on the original systems, 144 gigabytes each. And on the VM where the BMR is going to be run, also 144 gigabytes each. The native system also had 8 gigabytes of memory and 4 CPUs. And all the basic settings are what we expect for being able to run BMR in this environment. So we will start that VM. In your typical BMR setup, it may be necessary to set the network interface information. I won't need to do that in this case because we have DHCP set up, and the guest has a DHCP address, which from prior experience we know is going to work appropriately. It is common in the case of doing BMR on virtual machines that there's going to be this warning about 2 device drivers. This has never, in my experience, been an actual problem. On real systems doing BMR on hardware, it may be necessary if there was a difference between the source system and the system the BMR is being done to have to inject drivers. That can be discussed at length on a different occasion. So go to next, and we will put in the IP address of the secondary. But auto-selected the first one. Now it's getting information about the system backup itself, and it's going to populate the section below, and we can see what disks were backed up. There's 2 hidden volumes or reserve volumes and the 3 actual drives. We will use this checkbox to select all of them and go to the next screen, which is going to start iSCSI mapping and creating the clone of the volume, creating the file by clones as necessary, and then setting them up for iSCSI presentation back to the guest. This system is booting via UEFI, as will the Linux system. But if all goes well, it'll take us to the next screen, and we can select where we want the individual backups to go. As the original system has 3 disks that map or as the VM has 3 disks that match the originals, we'll just do a 1-for-1 mapping. They're all the same sizes between the 2 sets, so everything will comfortably fit. There isn't a large amount of sample data on the system, so there's not that much to restore. Because we're working with a block backup, we know what space was actually allocated and written versus what was empty space. And while it starts out thinking that it may have to restore the whole thing, it's only going to restore the allocated data. So once it gets all that done, it finishes pretty quickly after that. And it takes us to the next screen. Windows BMR does allow you some flexibility. While I would be inclined not to put the individual components of a system disk on different devices, it might be feasible. If the destination disk for data disks was large enough, you should be able to combine those into one, but that particular variation is not going to be tested here today. Oh, you have to select both sides. There we go for that one. This one to this one. Just keep it simple. This one to this one. They're all mapped. We go to the next page, and it's ready to restore. We don't have to do any hardware adjustment in this case because it's essentially a system going back to the same type of system. So we can just tell it to go. We will warn you that the restore process will scribble on the destination disk, so if you want to stop, this is the point to do. And then it goes through creating partitions, file systems, and starts moving the data. The small things go pretty quick. The others actually aren't going to be terribly bad either. particular version of VMware only offered Windows 2022, but that gave it a 90 gigabyte system disk. The 3 disks, in order to save space locally, were thin provisioned. I think prior testing has shown that using thick provisioned, while it takes a little longer to get started, it may have better performance. And of course, in the physical case, there's always going to be the space there anyway. Although a lot of modern systems, you aren't seeing the disk itself, you're seeing a logical disk built out of probably a RAID, and there may be more virtualization going on there that will not necessarily always allocate the space beforehand. Part of the demonstration to show that if everything goes well, the system actually will boot. I will also be demonstrating one of the options for collecting the logs from the BMR itself, as long as you've got a mail server available, which for this we will. In the Windows case, the easiest way to get the log files off is to mail them. But there are opportunities, especially for physical systems, to copy it onto removable media so that it can be moved to a different system. The end of BMR handling is slightly different between Windows and Linux. On a Windows system, it won't shut down until you explicitly do so. Eventually, the proceed button on the lower right will be replaced by a shutdown drop-down, which gives you the option of shutting down or restarting. On Linux systems, when it's done, it says it's about to reboot, and when you acknowledge that particular message box, it will start rebooting straight away. So anything that you want to do, you need to do before you do that. But you'll be able to start a CLI terminal to be able to do things, if any are needed, which for that demonstration, I will copy the BMR log set off to an NFS mountable space on a different system using SCP. And it's getting close to done. It's going to unmount all the iSCSI connections. We'll do some post BMR or post data transfer cleanup. Restore ended. Now it's going through its post restore, as the message line says. And it's ready to reboot. So I can acknowledge this message box safely on Windows. Its companion box on Linux is the one you have to watch out for. What you can do for a post BMR on Windows is email the log set, assuming that you have appropriate network connectivity, which I know for this case we will. If my fingers can be in the right place. I'm going to send it to myself. Stare at it a moment to make sure I didn't make a typo and modify the subject somewhat. Well, that was not the word I was hoping for. My fingers were not on the right keys. Actual BMR, definitely one hand was not in the right space. I think it was the right hand. And send the log set. I will give it a moment or two to make sure that there's good odds that it actually did get sent. And then go to the shutdown, and in this case we'll actually choose shutdown. Wait for it to do so. Wait patiently, I hope that it will shut down. There it goes. Go back here. This is the original, this is the test machine, so I'm going to turn off its network interface so that I don't have two of them with the same address on my network at the same time. Restart it. And there it is. Anyways, keep happy. No. None of these are particularly good choices, but we will at least report that it was a BMR demo. that. Go here. We have our system disk, we have the E drive, we have the F drive. Our sample data consisted of a directory called missing, which I believe has DPX installers and ISOs in it, and miscellaneous sample data. The other drive, yep, has a different set of samples, which were larger, hence the larger amount of data. And that's the demo for Windows.